I am pleased and honored to introduce our guest speaker for this afternoon's summer convocation. Dr. Jennifer Russell is New Brunswick's Chief Medical Officer of Health. A native of Bathurst, New Brunswick, she earned a Bachelor of Science from the University of New Brunswick and a Doctor of Medicine from Memorial University of Newfoundland before completing the Family Medicine Residency Program at Dalhousie University. Dr. Russell has a wide range of experience in healthcare delivery, and prior to joining public health, she served as a medical officer in the Canadian Armed Forces. Dr. Russell's clinical experience, combined with her interests in preventative medicine, attracted her to public health and the opportunity to work in population health. She is a member of the Council of Chief Medical Officers of Health and other federal and provincial health councils and committees. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Russell has been meeting regularly with Chief Medical Officers of Health across Canada to assess evolving evidence and guidance, and over the past 15 months, she has effectively formulated policies and communicated vital public health information to the people of New Brunswick. Before studying medicine, Dr. Russell studied music at Dalhousie University and still plays the piano and saxophone. In addition, she loves to read, hike, and spend time with her two children. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Russell to come forward and address this afternoon's convocation.
Chancellor Graydon Nicholas, President Don Russell, Vice President Dr. Kim Fenwick, and graduates, distinguished guests, members of St. Thomas University faculty and board. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you on this very special occasion. Graduates, this is your day, a day you have worked so hard to reach. And it's a proud day. It's a day to be proud of yourselves for the achievements, especially those you've worked for during this past year. The COVID-19 pandemic has been challenging for all of us. Lockdowns, isolation, schools, universities, and businesses being closed for months. And then there was online learning, something many of you had to adapt to quickly, while adapting to so many other things that COVID-19 brought upon us. And I read an email about some of the challenges that you have overcome and have had to overcome to obtain your Bachelor of Education and your Bachelor of Arts degrees and Applied Arts. So you were flexible, you were adaptable and resilient. You learned to deal with the blue screen on your computers like so many of us did, and eye strain and dry eyes became a part of our lives. And then there were Wi-Fi issues, and not being together as a group added to the challenges that you overcame. But you all persevered, and you all made it. And now you are ready to take all that you have learned, all of your achievements, and put them to work in classrooms across the city, across New Brunswick and beyond, and as well as all of the things that you have ahead of you with the other degrees for people who are graduating today with Applied Arts and also arts degrees. With respect to the teaching profession, one of my most important mentors in my life actually was a teacher. And my grandmother was a teacher, and both my kids actually, my oldest just graduated from high school, and he's heading towards becoming a teacher, and that's what his thought process is right now in terms of a career. So I do admire that profession, and while I'm not a professional teacher myself, I did teach music for a while at the Canadian Conservatory after my first degree in arts, and it was a great learning experience for me. I had to make sure that I was prepared, and I had to have my lesson plans and be on time, and it helped develop my communication skills, something that obviously has become very relevant in my job as Chief Medical Officer of Health for the province. Being able to communicate is a really important thing to be able to do, especially when the messages are truly very important and that we need to share throughout the province during this pandemic, sharing with New Brunswickers to keep them up to date, to keep them safe, to keep them informed. This was a key part of my work during the pandemic, even before that began. And by learning and honing those skills through my teaching experience, it served me well in my schooling and in my career. And it is important for me to be prepared for the things that my job entails, such as meetings and appointments and media interviews, and much, much more. And those skills came from a lot of the time throughout my arts degree and my teaching experience and other experiences. But it is very impressive today that you have done such an incredible job getting through the pandemic in this time. It's something that's been unprecedented, and I think I've heard that word many times in the last 18 months. Your degrees will offer you many opportunities. I certainly didn't imagine where my life would end up as I graduated from Dalhousie University with my Bachelor of Arts degree in 1992. Had no idea where I'd end up in my life. It's definitely been an amazing journey and a huge stepping stone in terms of all the different accomplishments in my life. So it was challenging for me as a university student to find my way in terms of studying and becoming independent and learning about many of my favorite subjects, including art and science, and I think I struggled with my decision around what to study. I think in grade 12 I must have lost a lot of sleep and tossed and turned about what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do for a living for the rest of my life, and it was a lot of pressure. But I do understand at the same time that, again, you can make a choice at one stage in your life and make other choices later on in life, and they all contribute to whatever it is that you're succeeding at. I really appreciate the ability to have studied both science and arts. I know that in past times, classical education included both. They're so very important for both parts of our brain, but also for our souls, I believe, and our jobs as citizens on this planet. But again, being able to study in so many different areas did enrich me as a person, and I do encourage all of you to follow your passions in life. It is so very important, the personal gains that you will make in your life in terms of those rewards. You will be more well-rounded, and you will be allowed to enjoy various dimensions of your life. And I think that's the other piece around the communications, is that the more broadly that you've taken in experiences in life, they do translate into how you relate to people. And it will help you facing challenges in your life. That diversity is really key as well. Your teaching careers and whatever career paths you choose will be challenging, and that's no surprise to you. And I'm sure that you all knew this when you set out on your journey, but you probably weren't anticipating a pandemic to certainly knock you off your path or challenge you to stay on your path. So there will be long days ahead. I'm sure you know you will be working very hard and making crucial decisions for yourself, for your students, to support your colleagues, other teachers, and members of your team. But I know that work will be fulfilling, and knowing that you are helping to set a path of learning for your students is very rewarding. Your work may be lonely at times, and your work is very important in terms of the decisions that you make, but again, leaning on others for support, whether it's your coworkers, your friends and families, as you perhaps have done during the pandemic and will continue to do, reaching out for help and guidance when necessary. I know you are more than ready to face this, especially at this time of your lives. You have completed your studies for your work at this time to become teachers and care the work that you're going to be doing as teachers. This pandemic will affect your students. Some will be younger and they may not have had the same impact and understanding. Some of your students will be older and will still be feeling the effects of the pandemic as different people are affected in different ways and touched by this in many ways across the globe, whether it's from losing a loved one or struggling with loved ones being in the hospital, etc. There were just so many losses that people will continue to be dealing with. So your efforts are to be commended. Our province has worked hard to minimize these impacts that the virus would have on our residents, our families and friends, our colleagues and team members. And it was the efforts of a great team in the government, so many civil servants, healthcare workers, many people in public health, just an amazing amount of work, an incredible amount of drive and passion for protecting New Brunswickers and keeping them safe. We all worked together with the communities that helped each other keep each other safe. And we put tough measures in place very early on. Closing borders was no small feat. We really were behaving like an island like New Zealand in terms of trying to protect ourselves and protecting our health care from becoming overwhelmed. And when our case counts began to increase, we acted very quickly to implement measures to keep the cases from spreading. And the decisions we've made have not always been popular, and they weren't always accepted by everyone. And it was what we needed to do to keep the province safe. You will likely experience situations like that as well, where not every decision you make will be popular, or the suggestions that you make may not always be welcome. And there are times where you will get pushback on your decisions. But you will have to stand firm on those decisions that you make and move forward. That has what has been helpful with me and my job as the Chief Medical Officer of Health for the province, staying the course, staying on course with a huge team of support moving forward, as well as the entire province of New Brunswick. My job is to do what's best for the public health, and that work is achieved by working as a team to see it through. The work to slow down the spread of the virus and the variants is one of the most important things that I've ever had to face in my professional career. And it's interesting that these things, as a professional, have also impacted us personally on many levels as well. So while I wear different hats, today I'm wearing the Chief Medical Officer of Health hat, but on some days I was wearing a parent hat and mothering my children throughout the pandemic, or being a partner, or being a friend, or a daughter. So we all have different roles that we play, and none are more important than the other. They all have to be balanced. It was worrying and scary at times as I watched what was happening in other provinces and countries. And I could hear the worry in the voices of my counterparts across the country. Some of you might be sitting watching this from some of those provinces where the case counts were high, hospitalization rates were high, and deaths were numerous from the virus. And while for the most part, I have been the face and the voice for sharing information about the COVID-19 pandemic, I have done my best to convey to New Brunswickers how serious the situation has been. Our work to overcome this pandemic will continue for the unforeseeable future. And with vaccines, this is the great part of the story so far in this journey. And it has given us hope, so much hope right now when we see the numbers dropping across this country, seeing the number of hospitalizations dropping across this country. This is what we need in terms of the momentum right now to keep us going so that we can return to normal as soon as possible. With each passing day, more and more people in the province are being vaccinated against COVID-19 as well as across the country. And we will get to our phase 3 of the Path to Green very soon. And I noticed that St. Thomas happens to have green. I don't know if you can see behind me. You're very well aware that green is in your colors for your university. So please help all of New Brunswick get to the path of green, and using that green to motivate you, your students, your family, your friends, your colleagues to get vaccinated. It is really incredibly important at this point in time, again, so that we can have the most normal existence within this time frame. I want to congratulate you again on your achievement, wish you well as you move forward in your lives and careers. For the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Arts graduates, you are at the start of a wonderful period of exploration and discovery to find your path in life. And my path in life began with an arts degree. For the Bachelor of Education graduates, the work you will do as a teacher will have a lasting impact on the lives of many, many people. Congratulations once again.